Hey everyone, today we're going to learn about indices. What are indices? Well, basically, indices are used to actually shorten a number sentence. Let's see what we mean. We have a number sentence that says 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Wow, that's pretty long. So we have 3 times itself 6 times. So in indices, we want to make things smaller and simpler. We want to simplify it. How do we write it? We write it in index form, or to the power. How? Very simple. Because 3 is to the times itself to 6 times, 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, then we write it down as 3 to the power of 6. 3 to the power of 6, where 3 is the base number and 6 is the power. 6 is the index. So to write it in simpler form, in indice form, we write it 3 to the power of 6. So if we want to know the basic numeral, we want to know the answer for 3 to the power of 6. What is the answer? Grab your calculator and try it. 3 to the power of 6 equals 729. Now we can see how simple it is. We don't like to write things in very long form. We like to simplify them. Always mathematicians like to make things simple. So here, when we have a number sentence that is that long, we want to simplify it. We write it in index form, in power form, which is 3 to the power of 6. 3 is the base number, and 6 is the power, it is the index. And the answer is simply 729. Same thing, when we want to work out, and we have a number sentence that says 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. It is 2 times itself 4 times. So that means we write it as 2 is the base number and the 4 is the index. 2 to the power of 4. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. So 2 to the power of 4 is 16. Now let's do some examples that also involve algebra and pronumerals. We follow the same rules. Let's get started. Okay, let's get started with some examples following the same rules, but now with algebra, with pronumerals. Looking at this example here, x times x times x. We are going to simplify them. X times x times x, we write it in index form, indices using powers. How? Very simple. X is our base, and how many times? 1, 2, 3. X times itself 3 times, x to the power of 3. That easy. Another one. Y times x times y times y. We have two pronumerals, the y's and the x's. We are going to simplify and write them in a shorter form, in index form. We start with the x. We write it down. First, x times x squared. There are two x's in this sentence here, in this algebraic expression. We started with the x just to make our English teacher happy. We start with x, then with y. But it doesn't really matter. You could have also started with the y as well. X squared, then that's completed. Y times y times y. How many y's are there? There are y's to the power of 3. Y, 3. Y to the power of 3. We know there's a little multiplication inside. It is invisible. X to the power of 2, y to the power of 3 is exactly the same as y times x times y times y. X squared, x times x, there it is. And y to the power of 3, because y times itself 3 times. So that is our final answer. Much simpler, much easier, much smaller, and easier to read. Let's do another one. We have n times m times m times m times n. Again, it's a long algebraic expression. We want to make it shorter and simple for us to read and understand. Start with the m if you like, or we can actually start with the n this time. N, is there another n that multiplies? Yes, there is. N times n. We have to look closely all the time. N times n, n to the power of 2n squared. Now m times m times m to the power of 3. So n to the power of 2, m to the power of 3. We know there's a invisible multiplication right in the middle. It is that simple, guys. Next one, 4 times x times 3 times y times x. We have pronumerals and we also have numerals. We always start with the numerals all the time. Start with our numerals first. Where do we start? 4. Does it multiply with another numeral? Yes, 4 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Now, we have the pronumerals x times x. Is there another x? Yes, there is. X times x times x, x to the power of 3, because x times itself 3 times. X to the power of 3. Anything else? Yes, there is a y. So times y, we just put our y. 12x cubed y. That is our final answer. See how simple it is? From a long algebraic expression all the way to a simple answer. Maths is always made to make things simpler. Follow the rules and you won't go wrong. Very easy. Understand to count how many there are. 1, 2, 3, x to the power of 3. That's our base and that's our power. That's our base and that's our index. These are indices. This is the introduction to indices. In the next couple of lessons, we're going to learn some rules regarding working with indices, how to multiply indices, how to divide indices as well. Let's get started after this.